But for the most part, I held on to it as a secret until the age of 17. Um, I've always wanted to be a politician. Going into politics is my goal. And as a kid, and honestly, I had good reason to believe this. I didn't think that as a bisexual man, I would have a shot at achieving my dreams uh, in the political or legal arenas. Um, we're just getting to the point where Don't Ask, Don't Tell is repealed. Back then, people, you know, acceptance of LGBT persons was lower, especially in the African American community. So I didn't think that it was a possibility for me, and I kept it a secret. Not that I didn't accept it; it's just I didn't think that the world would accept it. Um, the road to coming out fully came through two friends of mine. Their names were Holly and Chelsea. They were really awesome. I probably need to call them and talk to them and tell them I'm talking about them in this video. But um, two girls, and one of them, Chelsea, she was bisexual, and we became very close friends. Me, her, Holly, Chelsea, and a guy named D. Allen. The four of us would hang out all the time. We talk about the world. We just have a good time together. And Chelsea was a really inspirational person for me to be around, and Holly and D. Allen too. Um, Chelsea was openly bisexual, and she had been since like the seventh or eighth grade. And although she had, a few childish issues in school, there was nothing wrong. Her family loved her. She was as happy as the average teenager. All teenagers have their problems. And Holly, who was my friend, accepted her, and D. Allen, who was my friend, accepted her. And she didn't have to hide who she was or cover up, and she didn't feel that pressure of not being out. And I saw that in her, and I saw how happy she was just being her, and it really inspired me. And I thought to myself, you know what? I have friends who are obviously okay with this, and I am okay with this. It is time for me to just be me. I need to take some of this pressure off of myself. So I started off by telling Holly and Chelsea, who of course didn't care. They're like, "Oh yay!" It was really cool. It was really liberating to have friends just say, "Oh yay." Um, and then I told two friends named Sierra and Joey, who were friends with Holly and Chelsea, and they had the same reaction. They're like, "Oh yay!" Everybody's a little bit bisexual, things like that. So I'm like, "Oh cool, friends who accept me. This is awesome." Um, but at the same time, this wasn't my main group of friends. So I was still a little bit afraid. And they all promised to keep it a secret. But being a teenager, I knew, like, I didn't really expect them to keep it a secret for very long. So I made plans to tell everybody else with some time. Um, B. Allen was probably the first difficult friend for me to tell because honestly, I had a very huge crush on D. Allen. And if he ever watches this, he's probably going to be embarrassed as fuck that I'm telling the internet this. But all of our friends in common remember this, so it's not a secret or anything. But yeah, had a major crush on the dude. It was really weird. It's awkward to talk about now because he's like my little brother. But telling him that I was bisexual was difficult, especially because he was a close male friend, and I never had very many male friends. I was afraid that he in particular would judge me, that he would see that I had a crush on him, that he would hate me or be afraid of me, or that he would think I was disgusting. And I told him, and he was accepting, and it was pretty awesome. But he's a human, and he'd always been taught the exact same things as me. So the road for acceptance for him was a little bit more difficult. He was always supportive, and he always tried. And he can listen to me say anything about boys now, but for him it was a process getting used to. But he did a great job, and I was, you know, to start off with such great allies really gave me the strength and the courage to just continue. And from that group of friends, I decided that the world can handle who I am. There are people in this world who will love me for who I am, and I love me for who I am. So I'm going to keep going, and I'm going to be me. Telling One day I woke up and a girl on my friends list, Gabrielle Boyer, she had posted about National Coming Out Day, NCOD, and I had never heard of anything like this ever in my life. Oh fuck, this video is going to be too long. I just thought about that. But anyway, I had never heard about anything like National Coming Out Day in my life. This was totally new to me. And so I thought to myself that morning, it's National Coming Out Day. It's been a month since I told other people I'm ready. I'm going to jump in. I felt like it would be like jumping into a cold pool. You have to do it all at once, and you just let yourself get used to it. So that's pretty much what I did. Um, I was sitting outside of a CVS. I was kind of emotional, a little bit crying, and I pick up my phone, and I wanted to do this away from my mom, and I start calling my closest friends, like my best friends. Started off with a friend named Jessica. I think I told her in person, and it was like 2 days before NCOD, and she cried, and she was like, "Oh no, this is crazy," and it was so hilarious to me because she was crying, and I'm like, "It's not that big a deal." She loved me anyway, but I don't know, friends just get crazy. Um, Picked up my phone, called my friend Danielle. I told her, she was like, finally, you say it. She's like, I always knew Tevin. You're just Tevin. You're too, you're too like you for somebody to not see it. I've always known. And I'm like, okay. And she loved me anyway. She's always been a great friend. Called my best friend Charles. He's my best friend since the seventh grade, and he's my closest guy friend in life, especially at the time. Like, so it was extremely terrifying telling him this guy's like my brother. So I pick up the phone, call him, and he's just like surprised as hell. And I think part of him felt kind of betrayed that I never told him, and I think he was kind of confused that he never saw it. But as any real best friend would do, he said, I love you anyway. It's cool. This changes nothing. It's gonna take me some time to get used to. You can't just spring it all on me at once, but I'm gonna get used to it, and nothing's gonna change, and nothing did. Like I had to give him. He was one of those friends that I had to like warn them. In the beginning, I had to warn him. I'm about to say some gay shit. In the beginning, he might have to close his ears, but eventually, he got to the point where he can hear me say anything too, and it doesn't affect him, and our friendship hasn't changed.